What's going on, everyone? I wanted to make this video because I've recently fallen down the rabbit hole that is Enshrouded. I've played for over 70 hours as of the making of this video and unlocked every single achievement in the game. I'm going to give my honest opinions about the game itself and what I'm hoping to see in the future, as well as at the end. So Enshrouded is an open-world RPG survival crafting game. It runs on simple concepts that work in its favor and has a decent variety in the world so far. First, we're only able to explore the bottom half of the map as of now because the game is considered early access, and it ranges from levels 1 to 30 in a radial pattern going out from the bottom left corner where you start. Base building is simple, but it's great. Your building area is dictated by the level of your base. It starts at a 40 cubic block, but can expand to a 160 cubic block. This means you can go up, down, and to all sides at one half of that number because your flame is the center point. You can dig holes with a pickaxe anywhere in the world, but whenever you're in your building area, you can actually dig with a terrain tool, which makes life much easier and doesn't give you perfect chunks, making it look like it's a more natural occurrence as opposed to a solid block delete tool. You can have a maximum of 8 bases throughout the world. They all level individually, so you'll need the resources to level each one of them to the point that you want, but your flame level is global, so each base will not have to level up the flame. The higher level your flame, the more that you can explore. The shroud is either blue-gray or red. It's a fog that you'll see around the world, and it prevents you from exploring where you're not supposed to be yet. The blue-gray you can go through just fine, but you do have a timer based on your flame level that'll tell you how long you can be there before you have to get out. If your timer runs out, you die very rapidly. Though they do have a bunch of red fog that prevents you from going around the world early game, it doesn't stop you entirely. I dug tunnels through mountains to get around the fog, and jumped off of cliffs to glide across canyons in order to put fast travel bases around the world whenever I was probably around level 10 to 15. I did die a number of times to the bigger mobs that are out there, or to falling into the fog because I overestimated how far I'd be able to go, but it made fast traveling much easier in the end whenever I was able to explore those areas properly. My one tip for this is put your flames either at high points or at heavy resource areas. That way you can glide away from your spot, or you can quickly travel to and mine or chop materials that you'll need. When building, snapping is optional, so you can move items around almost exactly how you want, but the rotations do work on 90-degree angles, so you won't be able to rotate something freely. That's probably the only downside that I would give their building. Building materials are all over the world, from stone and clay to sandstone and glass, but you can get your base to look exactly as you want it, as long as you can get the materials you need to craft the building blocks that you're fond of. Furniture is based on the comfort level of the item. The later game material makes late game furniture, which gives you a higher rested timer. Being rested means you get a boost to your stamina, a bonus on stamina regeneration, and makes life easier whenever you're trying to get around or escape shroud. Stamina is needed for sprinting, jumping, mining, chopping trees, gliding, and blocking hits. Longbows also use stamina whenever they're firing off shots, but short bows do not, so keep that in mind. In combat, you have melee, ranged, wand magic, and staff magic. The skill tree is separated into 12 different branches, which lets you fine-tune your character to whatever playstyle that you want to go the most. If you're going to be playing with friends, I recommend that you organize your roles because loot is shared in the world, and if you have 4 people trying to do the exact same combat style, you're all going to be fighting over the same shields, swords, staves, wands, whatever it is. I'm not going to go super into detail about the looting right now, but I will do that later in the video. There are single-handed melee weapons that you can pair with shields. There's no dual wielding in the game yet. There are two-handed melee weapons that deal catastrophic damage, but you can have no defensive objects equipped. They also attack slower, but you can block with the weapon. It's just not as good as using a shield or for parrying or anything like that. Wands are imbued with magic. You have fire, ice, lightning, and shroud. Though throughout all 70 hours that I've played so far, I've only found a single wand with shroud magic on it. They do not require mana or charging. They only need to be repaired every once in a while. Staves are stronger magic weapons, but require magic charges for whatever spell you're trying to cast, as well as the mana to use it. Charges are not difficult to make, but there are eternal variants that are mid-level damage and have a fair consumption of mana based on the damage output. Health regenerates with food buffs, bandages, potions, and armor bonuses. Mana and stamina both regenerate naturally over time, but they also regenerate with potions and armor bonuses as well. Weapons, armor, and tools do degrade over time, but they're fixed with 0 resources just by going to a workbench. So let's go ahead and take a look at the mobs in the world. As of the game right now, there's only a few different racial enemies that you can fight against. You have humans, shroud mobs, animals, humanoid animals that look like a bunch of Chewbacca's that have gone to seed, and zombies. The downside is that there's not a wide variety of these races, but the upside is that each of these races has a few different variants. The humans have your general sword, spear, and bowmen, but they also have tower shields, berserkers, and matrons, which are mini-bosses. The shroud mobs have goblins, shroud wyverns, carnivorous insects, explosive insects, wraiths, giants, and reapers, which are their mini-bosses. Animals come in a few different shapes and sizes. There's aggressive and passive animals ranging from rabbits to saber-toothed tigers and wyverns. There's no significant challenge in the animal kingdom once you're properly armed in the game. They have simple attack patterns as well, so you can dodge or block most of what they're dishing out. The humanoid animals are these big hairy dudes. They have swords, slings, lightning mages, the only healer NPCs in the game, and these humongous dudes that can knock you around. Zombies are simple, they sprint, they swing rapidly, and I haven't seen anything aside from the standard swing your arms around zombie in the game so far. So getting around the world is time consuming, and until you've unlocked fast travel points and gliders, it's pretty laborious. For fast travel, you have spires, which are these massive towers that you have to go up through a series of simple puzzles. They can be deadly, but once you reach the top and unlock the flame, you can jump off and glide as far as you're capable of, since it runs off both your speed of your glider and the amount of stamina that you have available. There are no mounts in the game as of yet, but I think it would be an interesting concept added later, though I could see flying mounts not being allowed, as it would let you easily clear any part of the map. So let's go ahead and take a look at the looting system of the game, because I feel like this is where a lot of people have an issue with it. As I said earlier, it is a shared loot game, which means that whenever one person loots a chest, no one else can loot anything out of it. Same goes for mob drops. The way you can get around this is to restart the server and let someone else fight or loot whatever it is that you're trying to get. Every reset refreshes the loot, bosses, and temples, but it won't affect anything at your base. If you have a tank, a DPS, a mage, and a ranger, you'll rarely ever see issues with gearing everyone up, though there are class trees and even armor sets geared specifically towards these classes you can mix and match as desired. There are no set bonuses for wearing all of a single type of armor, you just get the bonuses of whatever you're equipping. So I'm an all-rounder kind of player for this because I expect to be solo for a good bit of the game, and I put my tree entirely into magic because that's what I want to focus on, but I put my armor sets into health and stamina bonuses so that I can fight as long as I need to and get away if possible. I do carry a melee weapon and a bow, but the melee weapon is solely for whenever my 4 wands break, and I do carry one of each element. And the bow is strictly for puzzles, as they sometimes require a ranged hit on a button in order to make it trigger. In this way, I recommend everyone have a bow, regardless of the level and combat style that you're using. I'm still using the basic twig arrows because, like I said, it's not for combat. So now that we're at the end, I've collected every shrine, every obelisk, chopped every shroud root, beat every temple, beat every boss, and collected the best items that you can get in the game so far. What I hope to see when the game is fully released next year is a level expansion up to at least 50 and a few more races to encounter. Maybe some large cities, expanses of water, and I definitely want to see some new materials like mithril or adamantium or something else entirely new. But at this point, I'm going to go ahead and rate the game based on the experience that I've had so far around a few different criteria. So for world appearance, honestly, it looks great. I have no complaints about the world appearance in any way and enjoyed everything I came across, even the stuff that killed me. 10 out of 10. For the world function, the world is large. It's not massive, but it does take a long time to explore everything as the flame level dictates your ability to withstand the shroud, and I think that's a great idea that keeps the world kind of soft locked and makes you travel more and look around more in order to find what you need. In the night and in the caves and temples, it's actually really dark and you have to have a light source. I like this feature, but I hope that they give us a hip lantern in the future for just some quality of life, because you have to keep swapping between your weapon and the torch in order to fight things and go back to exploring. 9 out of 10. Combat is simple but fulfilling. Could it look fancier? Absolutely. Does it do what it needs to? Yes. Is there a variety of weapons to use? Yeah. Do mobs have elemental and weapon type weaknesses? Absolutely they do. Combat, 9 out of 10. Looting is the roughest part for a lot of people. If you can't play different styles with your friends, it's gonna suck. If you can, it's gonna be just fine. With one of my friend groups, we have 4 people playing together consistently, and there are 2 different melees, a mage and a ranger. That means that we have no issues on gear splitting. But whenever we did find the level 30 glider, which only spawns in 1 chest, we had to restart the server 3 times in order for everyone to get one. That kind of stuff is a pain. So for looting, I'm gonna go ahead and give it a 7 out of 10. It's not the best in the world, but it does work if you cooperate properly. Leveling is simple. You kill stuff, you complete missions, you discover new places, you gain experience. Can't really make it any easier than that, or cleaner. Leveling, 10 out of 10. Resourcing can be a pain, but it shouldn't be terribly easy either. The one thing I will complain about on resourcing is that you should skip bronze entirely. Go from copper to iron, because iron is much easier to source, and it's much easier to make into ingots, which you need for the best equipment in the game so far. I have no idea why they made bronze so difficult, but it took a ton of work. Resourcing, 7 out of 10. Base building is great. Nearly perfect, and I like the concept of finding new building styles to add variety, but I don't like that I can't freely rotate my buildings. I want to make spiraling towers, not square ones. That's just personal preference, so for building, I'd go ahead and give it a 9 out of 10. There's a variety of mobs. I never got bored fighting them. Every mini-boss can one-hit you unless you build up that health and defense, but that makes the game challenging even after you're fully geared and keeps it fun. Looking forward to more types of mobs in the future. 9 out of 10. Now, for mob bases, they did have some repeated cosmetics, but every game does that. So if you're going to complain about repeating cosmetics, then you're asking for something that even billion-dollar gaming companies won't give you either. I never went into one encampment and was like, dude, this is exactly the same as the last one. The world design is very creative, and even though they do have some repeating elements, every base feels different, and the talent of the team who made this game shines through in it. Mob bases, 10 out of 10. Overall, I'm going to go ahead and give this game a 9 out of 10. Enshrouded is a great game. It's absolutely worth the money. A big part of how I judge these games, aside from the criteria we just went over, is a time to cost. If I can get 1 hour per $1 spent on a game, I'm going to be satisfied. If I can exceed that value, I'm going to be even more satisfied with the amount of entertainment that I got out of the game. And like I said earlier, I got 70 hours out of this game, and I'm still itching for the rest of the world to be delivered. I think I'll easily knock out 200 hours out of this game, maybe more, on just one character's playthrough, and I'm not going to be mad about it. If you made it this far, thanks for watching. If you could hit that like button on the video and leave a comment below letting me know if you agree or disagree with my take on the game, or even share your own opinions on what you think the game needs or what it did great, that'll help the algorithm to find me. If you enjoyed the content, make sure to hit that subscribe button on the way out. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'll see you next time.